The CECOT, El Salvador's fortress for its most violent criminals, is a place where the country's darkest gangsters are locked away. But is this mega prison truly the answer to El Salvador's decades-long battle with violence? Or is it creating new problems? Let's step inside and uncover the reality of this controversial institution, where the line between justice and human rights is constantly tested. A fortress built in secret, in the remote, isolated region of Tecoluca, El Salvador, the Centro de Confinamiento del Terrorismo, SECOT, stands tall as a symbol of President Nayib Bukele's war on gang violence, completed in January 2023. This 410-acre facility was designed to house 40,000 inmates. The government rushed its construction at a staggering cost of $100 million, aiming to curb gang activity that had plagued the country for years. The prison itself, a massive structure, holds 8 cell blocks, each packed with inmates, often outnumbering the bunks provided. Guard towers rise high, offering constant surveillance over every inch of the facility, while the goal is clear: to isolate and contain gang members. Many wonder if such extreme measures are worth the price, both financially and ethically. The design of CECOT, a fortress for the worst. When you approach the CECOT, the first thing that stands out is its immense size. The prison complex stretches over an area of 410 acres, with the actual prison itself occupying more than 57 acres. The sheer scale of the facility is staggering, and it's designed with maximum security in mind. Guard towers dot the perimeter, providing constant surveillance, while the electric fence surrounding the prison ensures that even the most determined escapees will have a tough time.
Some tell 5-star, but they give you the 3 times the food. They give you some programs. You go to do exercise.
The CECOT is not just a prison, it's a fortress. The high-tech security measures are among the most advanced in Latin America. The 15,000-volt electric fence serves as both a deterrent and a means of containment. Surveillance cameras are strategically placed throughout the facility, ensuring that no part of the prison is ever out of sight. Inmates are confined to their cells for most of the day, with very little freedom of movement. Security personnel are stationed around the clock, ensuring that the facility remains under constant watch. Inside, the prison is divided into 8 sectors, each with its own set of cells. The layout is intentionally designed to separate gang factions, preventing any conflicts that could arise from having rival groups in close proximity. Each cell is equipped with basic amenities, including a bunk, a toilet, and a washing basin. However, the living conditions are far from comfortable. Overcrowding is a persistent issue, with inmates often packed into cells that exceed their designated capacity. This creates a tense and volatile environment, where violence can erupt at any moment. CECOT's design also includes a high degree of self-sufficiency. It has its own water and electricity systems, reducing the need for external supplies. This self-contained structure is a key element of its isolation strategy, cutting off any possible outside influence or support for the inmates, despite its advanced security features. CECOT has not been without controversy. The prison's design, with its strict confinement measures and harsh living conditions, has sparked a heated debate. Human rights organizations have raised concerns about the ethical implications of such a facility, arguing that while security is crucial, it should not come at the expense of fundamental human rights. Life inside CECOT, harsh conditions for gangsters. Inside the walls of CECOT, life is a grim reality for those incarcerated. The prison's regimen is intentionally austere, stripping away any comforts that might soften the harshness of prison life. Inmates are confined to their cells for the majority of the day, with very limited time allowed for exercise. This lack of physical and mental stimulation can have a profound impact on the prisoner's well-being. Prisoners are given basic meals, typically rice, beans, pasta, and hard-boiled eggs. The food is simple and nutritionally adequate, but there are no luxuries. Inmates are required to eat their meals with their hands, as even utensils are considered potential weapons. This seemingly small detail underscores the level of control that the authorities exert over every aspect of life inside CECOT. One of the most striking features of life in CECOT is the lack of personal freedom. Inmates are subjected to constant surveillance, and their every movement is monitored. They are shackled during exercise, limiting their ability to engage in physical activities. This regimen of confinement and restriction is designed to prevent gang members from maintaining any form of organization or influence within the prison. But the isolation also serves another purpose, breaking down the inmates' sense of identity and stripping them of any power they once held within their gangs. The conditions in CECOT are far from comfortable. Overcrowding is a significant issue, with cells designed to house far fewer inmates than are actually placed inside. This creates an atmosphere of tension and discomfort, and violence is a constant threat. Despite the government's efforts to ensure security, the reality of life inside CECOT is one of hardship and deprivation. Security and control, high-tech surveillance and human power. The security measures at CECOT are among the most sophisticated in the world, with constant video surveillance, a 15,000-volt electric fence, and 19 guard towers. The prison is designed to prevent any escape attempts and to maintain strict control over the inmates. The use of high-tech surveillance equipment allows authorities to track every movement within the facility, ensuring that no part of the prison goes unmonitored. Inside the facility, security personnel are stationed around the clock, providing a human presence to complement the technological systems. Inmates are constantly watched by guards, who are responsible for maintaining order and ensuring that no violence or escape attempts occur, despite the high-tech security. However, there are still concerns about the safety of the staff. The inmates at CECOT are some of the most dangerous criminals in El Salvador, and their presence inside the prison poses a constant threat to those tasked with keeping them confined. The level of control inside CECOT is unmatched. Inmates are given no freedom of movement, and their every action is monitored. This level of surveillance is designed to prevent any gang activity from continuing inside the prison. However, the question remains, how much control is too much? Is this type of incarceration truly effective in rehabilitating individuals, or is it simply an exercise in punishment? Bukele's war on gangs, a controversial approach. President Bukele's approach to gang violence has been hailed by some as a necessary step to restore order in a country plagued by criminal activity. In March 2022, El Salvador experienced its deadliest day in decades, with 62 homicides attributed to gang violence. In response, Bukele declared a state of exception, suspending certain constitutional rights to facilitate the mass arrests of suspected gang members. Under this state of exception, thousands of individuals were detained, many of whom were sent to CECOT. Bukele's hardline tactics have been praised by some segments of the population, with polls showing overwhelming support for the prison's creation. The government's efforts to tackle gang violence have led to a significant reduction in crime rates, with some areas of the country reporting a drop in violence. However, critics argue that Bukele's approach is authoritarian and dangerous. The suspension of constitutional rights, mass arrests, and the harsh conditions at CECOT have raised alarms among human rights organizations. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have expressed concern that the government's actions may lead to systemic human rights abuses, particularly in relation to arbitrary arrests and unfair trials. Despite the criticism, Bukele remains popular, with many people viewing his crackdown as a necessary step to restore peace and security. But the long-term implications of his policies remain uncertain, and questions about the effectiveness and morality of his approach continue to dominate the public debate. Human rights, a closer look at the ethical issues. While the government of El Salvador has presented CECOT as a necessary step to eliminate gang violence, the prison has also attracted significant criticism from human rights organizations. The strict confinement measures, overcrowded conditions, and lack of due process have led to concerns about the treatment of inmates. Many critics argue that the government's approach is too harsh, and that it violates fundamental human rights. Amnesty International has condemned the conditions at CECOT, citing the lack of legal representation for detainees, the absence of family visits, and the arbitrary nature of many arrests. Human Rights Watch has also expressed concerns about the treatment of prisoners, particularly regarding the use of solitary confinement and the lack of access to medical care. While the government has defended its actions as necessary for national security, it is clear that the situation at CECOT raises serious ethical questions. Is it justifiable to subject individuals to such harsh conditions in the name of security? How far should the state go in its pursuit of justice? Public opinion, divided on the future of CECOT. Public opinion in El Salvador is sharply divided over the creation of CECOT. On one hand, there is widespread support for the prison, with many citizens viewing it as a necessary step in the fight against gang violence. A poll conducted in 2023 found that 96.4% of respondents supported the construction of CECOT, reflecting the public's desire for stronger measures to combat crime. On the other hand, there are significant concerns about the long-term implications of such a prison. Critics argue that the focus on mass incarceration may be a temporary solution to a much deeper societal problem, while crime rates have dropped. Questions remain about the prison's long-term effectiveness and the ethical costs of such a harsh approach. CECOT has become a symbol of Bukele's vision for a new El Salvador, a country that is cracking down on crime, but at what cost? The future of the prison and the country's approach to gang violence remains uncertain. The price of safety, security at what cost? CECOT represents a significant achievement in security but raises concerns about the balance between justice and human rights. While it has reduced gang violence, the cost of safety remains high. The long-term effectiveness of CECOT is uncertain. Will it truly end gang violence or lead to more human rights violations? As El Salvador grapples with these challenges, the debate over the prison's role in the nation's future will continue to evolve. CECOT's future remains uncertain, and its impact on El Salvador is still unfolding. As the nation navigates this complex issue, stay informed on the latest developments. Don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth analysis and updates on this ongoing story.